Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to give you all a big happy new year, happy 2023. I hope you all have a fantastic upcoming year full of good vibes and good books. I'm here today to add a huge list of books to your TBR as if it wasn't long enough already. If you've been wanting a list of some romance books that are coming out in 2023, I've got you, though of course this is not entirely comprehensive. I am going to separate this video by month to make it a little bit easier. So if you ever wanted to come back to this video to check out what new releases are coming that month, that'll be an easier way to do so. I try to make this list with books that I'm excited about or books by authors that I've read before or by authors that I've heard really great things about, and it still got to be this much and this big. There is a good mix of indie published books and traditionally published books, though there will be more trad published books just because publishers set release dates a lot farther than indie authors who sometimes just surprise us maybe like a couple days before release. All the dates for these books are subject to change though. I've had to redo a couple of these since I first made my list because a bunch of authors have changed their dates already. But let's just get started because I have a ton of books to share with you guys. Starting off with January 2023, I'm gonna start each month with my most anticipated release, and mine for January is The Choice by Ashley Jade. This is the first book in the Star-Crossed Lovers duet, which is a spin-off of The Words, which I loved so much in 2022. It's Memphis and Skylar's romance. It's a rock star romance. He's in a band and she is their new PR person. And she used to date his brother, who was also in the band, but unfortunately died. So it's gonna be angsty, it's gonna be a really long book, and I am dying for it. And then there's Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. She is giving us a new small town romantic suspense series this year. It's a second chance romance. The hero goes to the small town where the heroine is to make things right between them. I'm smelling a lot of good groveling here. I'm hoping I'm right because my groveling senses are tingling. And then there is Bitter Heat by Mia Knight. This would have been my most anticipated release, but I was lucky enough to get an arc of it. If you want to see my full review, I do have it on my Goodreads, so you can check that out. But this is the much awaited sequel to Bitter Secrets. It's been about 3-4 years since the first book came out, so it's been a long time, but it's finally here, it's finally coming. It's all about the first month of Roth and Jasmine's marriage of convenience. Also releasing in January is Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the third and I believe final book because it's the final brother in the Dreamland Billionaire series. Cal is the last Kane brother to get his romance, and it's with Alana, whose heart he broke 6 years ago. And then there's this book, which is the upcoming Helena Hunting. It's Make-A-Wish. It's the third book in the Spark House series. In this book, the heroine 7 years ago almost kissed the widowed father of the kid she was nannying. They don't see each other again until they reunite at this party that's being hosted by her family's company. So there's gonna be an age gap, a single widowed dad hero, and somewhat of a second chance romance. X's and O's by Amy Lee is also coming out in January. The heroine is an Asian romance book influencer, which, I mean, if you couldn't guess, I am very excited to read about. She is determined to find the one, so she goes to revisit 10 of her exes just to see if she can have her own second chance romance, which absolutely seems like something I would do if I became a book heroine, because second chance romance is my favorite trope, but I don't have 10 exes, so that's not happening. The hero turns out to be her new roommate, not one of her exes, and she does ask him for help to tag along on her second chance romance journey. This next one is actually a YA romance, but it's by an author that I love, so I have to include it. It's Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. The main characters are ex-best friends. He is the star football player. She's a social media influencer, and these two are forced to work together as a team for this little survival course in the woods. There's also Silk Malice by Eve Dangerfield. This is the sequel, book 2 in the Snow White trilogy, which I'm really excited about. I mean, I thought the first book was okay, but it had a lot of potential, and I'm really hoping the potential is met in the rest of the series. It's a dark reverse harem romance series based on, of course, Snow White. There are 4 heroes, and they are all very anti-heroes. And then we're getting a novella this month from Bree. It's called The Scepter, and it's the first novella in her new fantasy romance series, the Mortal Fate series. The series is going to be MF. It's an MF fantasy romance series. I don't know if this prequel is going to be about the main couple or not. I literally don't know anything, but it's Bree, and since I read her Bonza Tai series, I love her now, so I can't wait. A very highly anticipated historical romance that is coming out this month is The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shupe. This is the latest book, book 4 in the Fifth Avenue Rebel series. It's a historical romance with a rebellious heroine who is an heiress and a hero, a Duke hero, who needs to marry something wealthy in order to save his estate. They start up this affair while he's in New York, and it sounds like it's going to be another very steamy historical romance from Joanna Shupe. We are getting a new Devney Perry book in January. This is Jasper Vale, which is book 4 in the Eden series. It's a small town fake dating romance where the main characters accidentally get married in Vegas, which I love to read. They do try to keep their marriage a secret until the hero asks the heroine to fake staying married for another 3 months so that she can go with him to a wedding. This next book sounds so freaking good. It's Blood of My Monster by Rina Kent. Rina Kent is very hit or miss for me, but I want to read this one so bad because of how it sounds. It's going to be the first in a new trilogy. It's a dark Russian mafia series, and it's sort of based on Mulan. The main characters meet while in the military, and she is dressed as a man in order to be in the military. There's also going to be The Hate Sick Diaries by Saffron A. Kent. This is book 5 in the St. Mary's Rebel series. I just finished book 1 and really liked it. It's probably the best book that I've read from Saffron A. Kent so far, so I do want to continue on with this series, though I am gonna ignore how I didn't like the prequel. But this new release is an enemies to lovers, ex's best friend romance. The hero is her ex's best friend and also the reason why that ex broke up with her, and now she wants that ex back. If you're a Jennifer Hartmann fan, she is releasing a new duet in January. Both books are thankfully coming out in the same month. Book 1 is An Optimist's Guide to Heartbreak, and book 2 is A Pessimist's Guide to Love. I know a lot of people love Jennifer Hartmann because of Still Beating, and these covers are so pretty. The romance is a best friend's brother romance, and both the families lived next door growing up. And then there's Keep This Promise by Corinne Michaels. This is book 3 in her Rose Canyon series, her small town romance series. I read the first 2 books last year, and the end of book 2 had this slight cliffhanger for book 3. The heroine of this book showed up at the end of book 2 saying that she has a baby with one of the guys in the series. So it's Holden's book, and everyone, including Holden himself, basically just found out that he's a dad. And then my final January romance release is Do I Know You by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. It does have an interesting premise. The main characters have been married for 5 years, but it's gotten to a point where they basically feel like roommates now. They celebrate their anniversary at this resort, and then some strangers think that they're single and try to make them together. And so the two of them do pretend that they're single, that they don't know each other. It does sound very good and very unique, so let's just hope it's good. Moving on to all the February romances, my most anticipated release is none other than Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. I am so excited for this one because Things We Never Got Over was one of my all-time favorites from last year. The second book is Nash's romance. He's Knox's brother from book 1. He's the chief of police, and then the heroine, Lena, shows up in town temporarily. We are also getting a new Tessa Bailey. This is Secretly Yours, and it's the first book in a new series. It's the A Vine Mess series. It starts off with this one, which is going to be a grumpy sunshine romance. The main characters knew each other as young teens, and they almost kissed. And then years later, he does return back to their small town, and they are new neighbors. This book and the whole series is also going to be set on this winery, which sounds really fun. Another highly anticipated romance for February is The Consequence by Ashley Jade. This is the second and final book in the Star-Crossed Lovers duet. Originally, it was going to release in January along with book 1, but the author has just pushed this release date back. Katie Robert is coming out with a bunch of new releases romances in 2023, starting off with Radiant Sin, which is book 4 in her Dark Olympus series. It's Apollo and Cassandra's book here. It's their retelling, and it's also got fake dating. He's a spy master, and she has to go undercover with him to this party as his +1. I'm a little bit behind on the series. I still do need to read book 3 before getting to this one. If you're a Candy Steiner fan, she is coming out with a new sports romance. It's Hail Mary, and it's book 4 in the Red Zone Rival series. It's a very popular series that I still need to get to, but I have read Candy Steiner before. She's good for a fun time. But Hail Mary is an enemies to lovers romance, and the main characters are roommates. The next release is Only You by Samantha Young. This is book 5 in the Adair series. It's about the Adair family, and I do really like the series. I've only read the first 2 books, but they were really good. They're small town, Scottish, romantic suspense. This 5th book is going to be a second chance romance between ex-best friends, and I love the sound of it. She's a single mom, and he's this big Hollywood actor, and they reunite in Scotland. For this next upcoming release, guess who finally read the Chestnut Spring series that everyone has been raving about? I had so much fun with these cowboy romances, so of course I have to include Powerless by Elsie Silver, which is book 3 in the Chestnut Spring series. It's Jasper's romance. He is pretty much the adopted Eaton brother here, so he is getting his book. He's the broody, quiet hockey player slash cowboy, and his romance is with the Eaton's cousin. And then we're getting Twisted by Emily McIntyre. This is book 4 in the Never After series, which are like dark romance retellings of Disney stories. This time we get a dark romance based on Aladdin. It's a forced marriage romance between the daughter of one of the richest men in the world and her father's right-hand man. But she doesn't exactly want this marriage because she's in love with another man who's a servant, a street rat. So it's going to be a romance between Jasmine and Jafar, but I do think the author's changing up their names slightly to avoid any copyright stuff. We're also getting The Sword by Bree. This is the second novella in the Mortal Fate series. So we're getting a novella in January, another novella in February. Again, I have no idea what these novellas are about, but they're part of her new fantasy romance series. This next one I am very excited about. It's The Red Herring by Kalia Reed. It's book 3 in the Belgrave Dynasty series, and I just finished up book 2. Books 2 and 3 are both about the same couple. They are Nat and Asa's romance, and I need more of them. It's a super angsty brother's best friend romance, historical romance set in the South in the early 1920s, I believe, 1920s or 30s. Even though Nat and Asa were in love years ago, she married someone else who ended up dying, and now he has just gotten married to another woman. So it is very messy between them, very dramatic, but I just want them to be happy together. We're also getting another re-release, this time for Take the Lead by Alexis Daria. This book came out a few years ago, but only an ebook, I believe, but now we have this new cover. It's a really nice cover, and it's also coming out in paperback. It's the first book in the Dance Off series, so it is a dancing romance. It's set on a TV show that is pretty much Dancing with the Stars. The heroine is one of the dancers, and she has never won in 5 seasons. The hero is her new dance partner on the show, and he comes from this Alaskan wilderness reality TV show. The first monster romance on this upcoming releases list is How to Marry a Marble Marquis by Siemnes Costa. I love her books. I love her monster romances, though I am a little bit behind on some of her newer releases. It's a historical monster romance. The hero is a gargoyle marquis who gives the heroine lessons on how to land a rich husband, but of course he ends up falling for her instead. And then there is The New Guy by Serena Bowen. I feel like it's been forever since the last time I read a hockey romance from Serena Bowen, but we're finally getting a new one. It's an hockey romance between the new guy on the hockey team and the new athletic trainer who is also a single dad. And then the final February release is Isha Unscripted by Sajni Patel. I love Sajni Patel's romances, so I'm excited about this new one. The interesting thing is that her 2 other romances, her adult romances, were with forever, but now she's changed publishers to Berkeley for this one. So I am a little nervous that it's not actually going to be a romance here, but it does sound cute. The heroine is a screenwriter who's trying to make it in the business, so she has to go on this hunt for Matthew McConaughey, who just happened to be her professor from college. Moving on to all the March romances, my most anticipated release of this month is the new Bree. It's called The Crown of Oaths and Curses, and again, it's a fantasy romance. It is not reverse harem this time like the Bonsa Tai series. It's gonna be MF. There's gonna be fae involved, but that's pretty much all I know about it so far. Also tied for most anticipated release of March is the new Penelope Douglas. They're releasing a paranormal romance for the first time this month. It's part of the Legends and Lovers series, where each book was written by a different author, and Penelope Douglas has talked about this book for a little while. I think it's gonna be a shorter book or maybe a novella, I'm not sure, but it is gonna be a super villain romance. Also very high up on my TBR for 2023 is the new Sylvia Day. This is So Close, which is the first book in her Blacklist duet. We are finally getting a new Sylvia Day after, what, 5 years, and we're also finally getting this duet that she teased back in 2016 at the end of the Crossfire series. It's been a long time coming for this duet, and thankfully both books are coming out in 2023, but the first one is out in March. We're getting a new Elle Kennedy. This is going to be the second book in her prep series Rogue. It's basically a version of Gossip Girl with a ton of characters and different point of views. It's set at this all boys school, and I'm guessing the main characters here are the couple who was teased at the end of the first book. I don't remember their names, but they were interesting because we did find out that he saved her life when she was about to die. The second book that Katie Robert is releasing in 2023 is The Gargoyle's Captive. This is book 3 in the Deal with the Demon series. It's her monster romance series, which is all about these humans who get auctioned off to a bunch of monsters. This one is about a gargoyle hero and a monster hunter heroine, which does sound interesting. Next up, we have The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I had a lot of fun with the author's last romance, Mr. Wrong Number, so I'm looking forward to another rom-com from her. We have friends to lovers and fake dating here, so it already sounds promising. The main characters have this one-night stand together, and then after, they end up matching on a dating app. They both agree that they're not interested in a relationship with each other, but they do update each other on the dates that they go on. They set it up so that they're going to the same restaurant at the same time while on their separate dates, so that if it goes bad, they can hang out together afterwards. They also become fake dates for a weekend wedding. And then Elle Thorpe, who I love, is coming out with quite a few things in 2023. This first one is Evil Enemy, which is the first book in her new St. View strip series. It's a little different from her previous trilogies because this series is all about standalones. They're gonna be MF, and this first one is Boston's romance. Boston was the cop from St. View Prison, and his heroine is a stripper. And then for all the Sarah Kate fans, we're getting book 5 in the Salacious Players Club series, which I am very, very behind on. I still have only read book 1, but book 5 is called Highest Bidder, and it sounds fantastic. It's an age gap romance, and the hero becomes the heroine's sugar daddy after bidding 100 grand for a date with her. We're also getting quite a few more historical romances that I'm excited about. The Portrait of a Duchess by Scarlett Peckham. We've also been waiting for the sequel for quite a while. It's been a couple years since the recast came out. It's Cornelia's romance, and no one has any idea because she hates the idea of marriage that she is actually married herself and has been for 20 years. So it's a second chance romance between an already married couple. We're also getting a new romance from KJ Charles. This is The Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen, and it's a second chance historical romance. One of the heroes has just inherited a title, and the other hero comes from a family of smugglers, and the two of them used to be lovers. This last March release, I don't even know if it really counts as a romance, but I love Meg Cabot, so she's going in here. We're getting the Quarantine Princess Diaries from Meg Cabot this month. It's a new Princess Diaries book, so 11-year-old Lacey is extremely happy. It's actually a bind up of these posts that Meg Cabot wrote on her blog from Mia Thermopoulos's point of view during the pandemic. It's like what would have happened to Genovia, to Mia during the pandemic and under quarantine. Moving on to all the April releases, my most anticipated one of this month is King of Pride by Anna Huang. I freaking loved King of Wrath so much last year, and I am very excited for this next book. It's book 2 in the Kings of Sin series, and it should be Kai and Isabella's romance. They were set up so perfectly in book 1. Kai is this hot British Asian guy with glasses, so I already love him. Also tied for most anticipated release is Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. We are finally getting a new Laura Thalassa fantasy romance. This one is the start of a new series and it sounds fantastic. It's a new adult fantasy romance series with a heroine who accidentally wakes up this evil god who thinks that she is his long dead wife who betrayed him. We are also getting a new Emily Henry this month. Happy Place is coming out in April, so we have quite a few April releases to get excited about. But this one sounds right up my alley because it's got fake dating and second chance romance. The main characters broke up 6 months ago but haven't told their friends who they're going on this little friends trip with. So these two have to pretend to be a couple again while they're on vacation. From the Grave by Kresley Cole is also coming out this month. We're getting the final Arcana Chronicles book, which is a series that I started reading last year and fell in love with, which is surprising because it's YA, although it does turn more new adult with each book. But I'm just so excited to see who Evie will choose between Jack and Death, if she even chooses. It would be incredible if it ended up being some sort of MFM poly romance, but I don't know, we'll see. If you've read Pepper Winters, you know she's known for her dark romances, but she's coming out with a new fantasy romance series this year. I believe this is her first fantasy romance, and it's called When a Moth Loved a Bee. It is going to be dark though. It's going to be a dark fantasy romance because it is still Pepper Winters. This next one is by a new to me author. She's a historical romance author, and she has a new book coming out with Berkeley. I think she was an indie author before that, but this one is called Anna Maria and the Fox, and I'm not gonna lie, I mostly want to read it because of the cover. It's gorgeous. I'm not a huge illustrated cover fan, especially for historical romances, but this one is really, really nice. It's gonna be a forbidden historical romance between a Mexican heiress and a British politician. And then a new standalone Devney Perry is coming out this month. I am so excited about it because it sounds incredible. It's called Coach. It's a second chance sports romance between the heroine and her first love. He's a famous former football star, he's a single dad, and he's also just been hired as a new coach for the team that the heroine also works for. Next up, if you're a Black Dagger Brotherhood fan, we are finally getting Lassiter's book. This is Lassiter by J.R. Ward. It's book 21 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, so it's been a long time coming for Lassiter. The series is also extremely long now, but whatever, I'm just really glad that we're finally getting his book. He is our hilarious and over-the-top fallen angel turned scribe virgin, and his heroine is named Raven. She showed up in the last book, or the last 2 books, so there's been some teasing of these two. I'm just really hoping that I love it because the last few BDB books have not been the best. We're also getting a new Abby Jimenez book this month. This is called Yours Truly. It's gonna be fake dating, which always sounds great. There's a recently divorced heroine, and both the main characters are doctors who work together. And then the fake dating comes in when the hero asks the heroine to be his fake girlfriend for a wedding. And then the final April release is a sapphic romance from Alexandra Belfleur. It's a new standalone romance with a marriage of convenience. One of the heroines runs a bookstore, and she invents this fake girlfriend based on a cover model, and then she actually runs into that cover model. They make up this whole fake engagement thing because the cover model needs to be married in order to get her inheritance. Moving on to all the May new releases, my most anticipated one is a new fantasy romance from Rebecca Yarros. It's called Fourth Wing, and it's Rebecca Yarros's very first fantasy romance, and it sounds so cool. It's about a war college for dragon riders. Like, these students literally go to this college in order to learn how to ride dragons. So it sounds incredible. The cover is great, and I do think if you pre-order the hardcover, or if you buy the hardcover, you do get some nice sprayed edges on it. There's going to be a new Tate James book in May. This is Forgery, which is book 2 in the Valenshek Legacy series. The series is her latest Shadow Grove series, which I haven't gotten to just yet. I'm thinking I'll wait a little bit until the final book is out, but this is a second book and it's MF. It's not reverse harem like the other series in this world. Another new release is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I know a lot of people loved Every Summer After, so if you've been wanting another book from Carly Fortune, we are getting one this month. It's her second book. It's about a couple who connected at the wrong time, but they did promise to meet up in a year, and she showed up, but he didn't. Now they reunite 9 years later, and he offers to help her fix up this lakeside resort. Farrah Heron has a new rom-com called Jana Goes Wild, and it sounds very interesting. The heroine is a single mother. She and her baby daddy are the bridesmaid and groomsmen at this wedding. It's a destination wedding set in Tanzania, so it's a whole second chance romance set in a country that I don't think I've ever read a romance set in. And I do love romances where the main characters have kids together. Harper St. George has a new historical romance in her Gilded Age Heiress series. The Duchess Takes a Husband is book 4, and we're finally getting Camille's romance. I've been waiting for her story since book 1, when she was forced into a marriage that she didn't want. Now she's a duchess with no husband, and she wants lessons in seduction. The hero is an illegitimate son of an earl who also runs an infamous club. They make a whole deal with each other as she gets these lessons in seduction while he gets a fake engagement because he needs more respectability in order to open up his own club. There's also the new Christina Lauren, The True Love Experiment. It's about a romance author who has never been in love. The hero is a documentary filmmaker and a single dad, and he has to come up with this new reality TV show about finding love, and he gets the heroine to be his new lead. For all the June upcoming romances, my top one, my most anticipated one, is Love Theoretically by Elle Hazelwood, to no one's surprise. It's another enemies to lovers romance and STEM with fake dating. The main characters are rival physicists, and an interesting thing about the heroine is that she has a side job as a fake girlfriend. Like, she will provide her services as a fake girlfriend, and the hero sounds like he might be the older brother of Olive from The Love Hypothesis, because they do share the same last name. The second book in the A Vine Mess series from Tessa Bailey is also coming out this month. It's called Unfortunately Yours. We're getting it only a few months after book 1, and it's got a marriage of convenience. The main characters hate each other though, but they do get married so that they can get access to the heroine's trust fund. She wants to start her own business, and he wants to help fix up his late friend's vineyard. If you're a Plated Prisoner fan, the final book is coming out in June. It's called Gold. It's the 5th book in the series, and it should be the last book. I only read book 1 for my book club, though I do eventually want to get to the rest of the series just because of the hype. We're getting a new Catherine Moon as well. This is Sanctuary of Kings, which is book 3 in her Tempting Monster series, which are all monster reverse harem romances. I think one of the heroes was introduced in book 2. He was one of the kings in the audience at the theater. I don't remember exactly what kind of monster he was, but he did sound interesting. This next release is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. It does seem like Ashley Poston is sticking with her brand of bookish paranormal romances, because we're getting another one here. The heroine is a book publicist who falls in love with her new roommate, only to find out that this roommate is living 7 years in the past. I'm not exactly sure how this is gonna work unless one of them is dead. It's only 7 years, so theoretically they both should exist in the same timeline. But hey, it does sound interesting, and it does seem unique. And then this final June romance is a jewelry heist rom-com. It's To Have and to Heist by Sarah Desai. The heroine's best friend has been accused of stealing this multi-million-dollar necklace, and then this guy comes in offering to help her find this necklace and steal it back. The both of them have to infiltrate this high society wedding in order to steal that necklace, and it sounds really fun. Moving on to July, my most anticipated July romance is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This one sounds so interesting because it's about a portrait artist who loses the ability to recognize faces. She gets face blindness after a surgery, so she can't exactly do her job anymore, and she can't recognize the faces of these two guys that she's interested in. I've loved every book that I've read from Catherine Center so far, so I'm pretty sure this is gonna be another good one. Nalini Singh is giving us a new Side Changeling Trinity book, and we're going back to the bears here. It's called Resonance Surge, book 7 in the Side Changeling Trinity series, and we're getting a Psy and bear changeling pairing. I just love the bear changelings so much. They are hilarious and entertaining, and I can't wait to be back with them. If you love the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer Elle Armentrout, we are getting a Cass point of view book. It's called A Soul of Ash and Blood. It's gonna be book 5, though technically it's a retelling of book 1 from Cass's point of view. It should be fun. I'm actually excited about this because I do love Cass, and I did love From Blood and Ash. I am a book behind on the series though, because I do need to read The War of Two Queens. Sierra Simone is giving us 2 releases in July. This first one is the start of a new series. It's called Salt Kiss, book 1 in the Lioness series, which is a spin-off of her New Camelot trilogy. It's going to be another poly romance like New Camelot MMF. The other Sierra Simone romance is a novella in her holiday romance world. So it's like a standalone sequel to A Merry Little Meet Cute. We're getting Christmas in July. We're also getting The Summer Girl by Elle Kennedy, which is the 3rd book in her Avalon Bay series. The heroine returns back to Avalon Bay to be with her family, and she wants herself this summer fling. The hero is a sailing instructor and the town's golden boy, and he actually friend zones the heroine. But then of course he ends up regretting this and thinking that he may have made a mistake in friend zoning her. So it's gonna be friends to lovers. I can't say that I have super high expectations for it, but it should be a fine summer read. Another YA fantasy author who is releasing their adult debut is Chloe Gong. This adult fantasy debut is called Immortal Longings, and it's inspired by Antony and Cleopatra. There's an epic competition. The main characters enter and they form an alliance. She's a secret princess and he's an exiled aristocrat. I've never read Chloe Gong because, you know, I don't read YA anymore, but I've heard lots of good things about her books, and I am very curious about her adult debut. The last July release that I have is Mortal Follies by Alexis Hall. This is the next historical romance from Alexis Hall, and it's going to be sapphic and paranormal. One of the heroines is a noblewoman who's been cursed, and the other heroine is a witch. In August, the book that I'm most excited about is Earl Overboard by Stacey Reed. This one is a new historical romance. It's supposed to be a retelling of the movie Overboard. I've never watched this movie, but I had to look it up, and it sounds so good. It's about this spoiled yacht owner who gets thrown overboard and loses his memory, so there's some amnesia. One of his employees, who he treated terribly, tells him that he is actually her very poor husband. I can already imagine this as a historical romance, and I really need it. We're also getting a new Sarah McLean historical romance. This is Knockout, book 3 in the Hell's Bell series. The heroine is of course one of the Hell's Bells, and the hero is a detective. He's been hired to guard the heroine, but he has no idea what he's getting into. Next up, I don't know if anyone here has read the Gallagher series way back when, but I love that series, and Allie Carter is giving us an adult spy romance this month. It's called The Blonde Identity. The heroine wakes up with amnesia only to find out that she's twin sisters with a spy, and everyone seems to think that she is that spy sister. So there are people gunning for her, and she does get help in the form of a grumpy spy. And There's some fake dating here as well. They have to pretend to be newlyweds. It just sounds like so much fun, and I'm praying that I love it because I will be so sad if I don't. And then Elle is giving us a new reverse harem trilogy set in the St. View world. It's gonna be the St. View Rebel series. Book 1 is St. View Rebel, and this is gonna be Rebel's romance. She was introduced in St. View Psychos as a friend, but then at the end of the series, she got taken or she disappeared somehow. I don't really remember, but I'm excited for a new reverse harem from Elle. Katie Robert is releasing yet another book. It's book 5 in the Dark Olympus series. It's called Cruel Seduction. It's a modern retelling of Aphrodite and Hephaestus, who I do love, but I don't really see too many retellings about them. They're married and they hate each other, so to hurt the other person, they try to seduce someone that the other person loves. So it sounds very messy and angsty, and this is probably the one book in the series that I'm most excited about. For September, my most anticipated release is a brand new JLA book. We're getting a brand new fantasy romance series from Jennifer L. Armentrout that is not related to any of her ongoing books. It's called Fall of Ruin and Wrath, and I mean, I do love From Blood and Ash, the Blood and Ash books, but it's nice to get something new and different. There's also Better Hate Than Never by Chloe Elise. This is the standalone sequel to Two Wrongs Make a Right. It's childhood enemies to lovers, and it's also inspired by The Taming of the Shrew. And then yet another fantasy romance is out in September. A Queen of Thieves and Chaos by Kay Tucker is coming out. This is book 3 in the Fate and Flame series. I've been holding off on reading the series for some reason. I do think it's because it's extremely slow burn, but this 3rd book is coming out in September. I don't know if it's going to be the final book or not. I think I do need confirmation on how many books there are going to be in the series before starting it. For October, I have Too Far by Sylvia Day at the top of my list here. It's book 2 in the Blacklist duet. It's the sequel to So Close. Like I said earlier, both books are coming out in the same year, which is fantastic. I most likely will not have the patience to wait until both books are out just because it's Sylvia Day and I love her. And then the other October release, as if Jennifer L. Armentrout isn't writing enough, she has another book here. It's Visions of Flesh and Blood, which is book 5.5 in her Blood and Ash series. It's a companion guide between her 2 connected series. My most anticipated release for November is the new Mill of Vane. A Dance of Smoke and Steel is book 3 in the Gathering of Dragon series. This book has been pushed back quite a bit since it was first originally announced, but hopefully we are sticking to a November 2023 release because I do want it. The main characters are Saxon and Lena, and these two were introduced in book 2. Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake is also coming out in November. It's book 3 in the Brightfall series. Iris is the last girl in the friend group to get her romance. Iris is a romance author who now has writer's block after the success of her debut. She goes out for fun and then sees her one-night stand again when she tries out for a play, and then she gets roped into playing that person's fake girlfriend. And then the last November release is Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan. I loved Rosie Danan's debut, and this new one sounds very fun. It's a cozy mystery rom-com. 2 friends try to cover up this accidental murder because they want to be able to claim an inheritance, and then there's this hot PI who does think that they're very suspicious. And then the 2 December releases that I have are A Fire in the Flesh by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one is the 3rd and final book in the Flesh and Fire series. It's Sarah and Nikos, however you pronounce it. It's their last book. And then there's Prom King by Penny Reed. It's a lyric, and he's a very grumpy guy, at least from what I saw in book 2. Nothing's been confirmed just yet, but I'm assuming his heroine is going to be his stepsister who hates him. And then I do have quite a few books that don't exactly have release dates, specific release dates in 2023, but they're supposed to come out this year. Lisa Kleypas is supposed to come out with either women's fiction or historical romance. I think it's First is the woman's fiction that she has planned, which I'm not exactly that excited about, but I'll still read because it's Lisa Kleypas. We're getting a new Karen Marie Moning book now that the Fever series is done. It's called The House at Watch Hill, and it's supposed to be a gothic book. The main character has to live alone in this Louisiana manor in order to receive an inheritance. For Penelope Douglas, I know we're getting a release in March, but we might be able to get another book in 2023. It's either Motel or Pirate Girls. There's going to be another book in the Sea of Ruin world by Pam Godwin. At least I'm hoping it's going to come out this year. She said she's going to write it this year, at least. But I'm just excited for more dark historical romance from Pam Godwin. H.J. Carlton is planning to come out with Sibby's reverse harem romance this year. Sibby was a side character in the Cat and Mouse duet, and I loved her. I'm also waiting on a new Alona Andrews romance. I'm really hoping that we get the Iron Covenant book 2. It's been a long time since Iron and Magic has released, which was book 1, and I did see that the authors were writing the sequel to it. I just don't know if it's coming out this year. I really hope it does. Kennedy Ryan is coming out with at least one book this year. I'm hoping for Score, which is book 2 in her Hollywood Renaissance series because of how much I loved Real book 1. There's going to be a new Kristen Becca Ritchie book coming out with a publisher with Berkeley. It's called Dishonestly Yours. It's a new adult friends to lovers romance about two best friends who want to break apart from their con artist families. I'm also waiting on A Touch of Chaos by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the 4th and final book in the Hades and Persephone series. I'm waiting on 2 Danielle Laurie books, My Dear Husband, which is her cheating marriage romance, and The Purest Addiction, book 4 in the Maid series. I'm hoping we get both Arcana and Kinetic by Rue Nix. Arcana is a gothic romance set, I think, in the same world as Gothicana, and then Kinetic is a biker romance. J. Daniels is making a comeback this year. Her book is called The Tragedy of Felix and Jake. It's an forbidden romance, and it's a spin-off of Alabama Summer. One of the heroes is the son of one of the couples from that series. There's going to be a Devil of Dublin sequel from B.B. Easton. Gianna Darling still has not released her 7th Fallen Men book. Harley LaRue is also planning to come out with the 3rd and final book in her Souls trilogy, and I am so excited for that one. I'm also kind of interested in an Amo Jones romance that's releasing this year, mostly because it's a gothic reverse harem romance. It's called Boneyard Tides, and it's the first book in a duet. I have no idea what book Sarah J. Maas is releasing this year, if she even is. I'm hoping for more from the Court of Thorns and Roses series, but it's probably going to be Crescent City. And then whatever Marina Zapata is coming out with next, I will read it. But that is my giant list of all the upcoming 2023 romances that are on my radar. Hopefully you found a bunch of books to add to your TBR or keep an eye out for. If there are any other books that you're excited about that I didn't get to mention, let me know. If any of the books have pre-order links, I will link them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!